off with Medieval Dynasty. Where's the one? There's on stream. And for those who haven't seen this, this is a game where you work on a like you build like a medieval town and all that store stuff. It is a survival crafter and all that. I figured I wanted to do a little bit more of this. I've been enjoying the Hollywood animals a lot. But I'm also like, okay, I don't want to just sit here and knock out like 2-3 full streams of just that. I think once that fully releases, I do think I want to try like doing a proper full playthrough then. Because right now you can only get through Act 1, which I believe is 20 years in the game. I think that's supposed to take somewhere in the area of like 20 hours or so of gameplay from what I heard. And all that. Alright, so where we left off, we do have an heir. So we do have a daughter. We are married. We have our town that's coming together. What do we have in our journal? You want me to make bags. And we just started the season. Let's see, just did the Klonika quest with the town leader heir, and oh boy, it's an entire thing. Have fun with it. Is that with the multiplayer map, or is that the single player map? Because they entire different quests with that. What am I? Okay. For the bags, I need fabric and all that. That's over here. I haven't played in like 2-3 days, so I'm taking a moment to just remember where stuff is. Alright, and I don't have enough lights here. Okay, so I don't have more flax handy. I don't have enough cloth to make anything. Yeah, so I can't finish the shovels. That's why we don't have that one marked. Right. So the Curious Boy... Oh, it's the multiplayer map? Yeah, so you want a wheat roll, dried meat, and water skin. We could do the water skin and all that. The wheat roll we haven't quite got. You want me to hunt a Wyzant and do a wooden wheel. We can make that happen. And the end is nigh, I just need a bunch of random stuff. So the Wyzant we can definitely do. Yeah, so I got 12 arrows. Where is the nearest place we could find a Wyzant? We got it down here. That's a Wyzant. And I think that's it. There are wolves near that Wyzant, though, so let's be a little bit careful. Because the other thing to work on would be to continue to grow the town. And honestly, I could do... You know what? Actually, let's work on the town. I'll spend half the time getting down there only to have it be a whole thing. Alright. So did I have a building already under construction? I do. And it looks like it was missing planks. And logs, apparently. Alright. So we need more wood. So what I'm going to go ahead and do for the more wood is I don't want to take it out of the valley we're in. We did knock down the Curious Boy quest is pretty good if you choose certain choice when talking to him. Yeah, no, that's the thing. We can deal with that later. But I am choosing to deliberately not cut down the trees in the valley anymore. Oh, what are you? I have another building over here that I've apparently not done yet. Donkey shelter, that's right. Let's see, you can tide them if you enable Wise and Whisperer mode. You can tide them? Wise and Whisper. Oh, one thing that, make sure I still have it set. Toggle. You could ride them if you have the Wise and Whisperer mode. Is that a mod or, like, a non-default setting? This is the first I've heard of that one. Hey, Tap Girl, thank you so much for the raid. How was your stream? What were you playing today and all that stuff? The game had almost no mods. The game has also no mods? Yeah. But how was your stream? What were you playing? All this stuff. Can I get a shout out for Tap Girl, by the way? I'd appreciate that. At the moment, we're playing a little bit of Medieval Dynasty. All that stuff. Yeah, and if you gotta like raid and run, don't let me hold you, but you're obviously welcome and all that stuff. Let me get 2 seconds and I'm gonna check to see what it says they were playing. According to Twitch, you were playing some El Paso, Elsewhere, Tiny Garden, and Unbox the Cats recently. Sounds like a bunch of fantastic indie games. So if you're into indie games, you can find it over there. Let's see, we managed to not rage quit when El Paso Elsewhere had a huge difficulty spike on a boss fight, but it was overall fun. Nice. We've been playing some so again, check out Tap Girl. We've been playing some Hollywood Animal, which is a pretty brutal tycoon game where you play as like a 1930s Hollywood movie studio. It is genuinely a fairly hard tycoon game. But we managed to not go bankrupt. It was looking pretty bad, but it looks like we started to bring it back. But it's one of those things that, you know, I kind of would want to start a new playthrough now that we've learned a bunch of stuff and see how it goes. But it's early access, so it's kind of one of those ones where I'm like, okay, I'm having fun, but do I want to really, really dedicate a lot of time before I can finish the game? I found, honestly, pretty recently, I will play an early access game for a little while, and I'll bounce off of them pretty quick nowadays. And it is for that reason, the number of times I play an early access game, I get into it, and I play it to the point I'm all burned out on it. And then when it comes time that it releases in its final form, I'm still burnt out on it. I've done that with a lot, and so these days I tend to be more and more, I'll play an early access game for a couple of streams at the most, and then usually let it set. I'd rather just be able to play through and finish a game. That said, I am very happy I did play it because it is a game I absolutely intend to circle back and, you know, play through later. They're checking out El Paso because Nagoric's voice is one of the main characters. The story has been amazing so far, but the boss fight and story difficulty took like 2 hours to beat. Gotcha. So it is a tough game, is what I'm hearing. That's not necessarily bad. I do enjoy a difficult game, as long as it's difficult for the pace, you know, like actually being difficult, not just obtuse. Or difficult in the boss has a billion hit points. You know, just hit your head against the wall for the next couple of days. It is a really dark night. Normally I don't like standing here with a torch, burning the torch the whole time because of waste of materials, but it is a really dark night. It's good. I actually don't know much about El Paso Elsewhere. Like what kind of game is that, by the way? And again, like if you gotta do your self-care, don't let me hold you up. Because I haven't heard of it till now. There's been a lot of games releasing / updating, you know, this week as well as, you know, all the way through like mid-May. So it's been nice being able to hop into some random games here and there. Which for my channel, I do think sometime this week we'll probably check out Son Goku Dynasty. That's one I don't expect to stick around very long compared to Medieval Dynasty. That's more, pop in, check it out for a couple of different reasons. Like, one of the reasons being is I did request a key, and so they gave me a key. And it's usually pretty bad to request keys and not play them. Like, it can happen once in a while, it's not a big deal. But with a lot of times, it starts to become a frequent thing that'll keep you from getting keys in the future. So since I did request the key, I do want to play it. And it would also be nice to do a direct comparison where we've been playing this recently and immediately jump over and be like, but what's the other one like? Because my understanding is Son Goku is a lot less polished, and that it's very combat focused by comparison. Oh, I don't have the... There we go. Let's see, everything outside of that boss fight is good level of difficulty. The boss is just hard to dodge and get damage on. You play as James, who is shooting his way through levels of hell to get to Dracula, who is the vampire who tried to end the world. Checking out new games and trying to reduce the backlog is a constant struggle. Yeah. It's such a big thing though, especially like if you're doing like key requests with like Keymailer and LinkedIn and all those other ones. Then they give you a key. And it was just kind of one of those things that, you know, like a lot of times, like a lot of studios are good that you request it and they'll either get back with you right away. Unfortunately, a lot of them, they'll just never respond ever, whether you get it or not. Okay, well, we're just falling and hurting ourselves, maybe. But a lot of times they'll be pretty good that if they're going to give you the key, they give it to you like right as it releases or like a couple days before and you're good. But I have had a couple of times where I request a key and then they give you the key and it'll be like months and months and months and months later, which the good news is just because they accept it, you have to actually hit like one last button to actually get the key, and that's when they start, you know, if you don't play it, counting it against you. I've only had a couple of times where I've gotten to the point where I got the key that I didn't end up playing, like not Farm Sim, Flight Sim 2024. That was one I fully hopefully planned to play on the channel, and then just the game didn't work for the first couple of days of its existence. Like straight up, you could not get onto the servers for the most part. And by the time they had fixed it, like people were already super pissed off at it and no one was really interested in seeing it. So I didn't end up playing that one because it's like, okay, as a creator, my chance of playing this game and having it work out well for me is past. Like people actively don't like the game now. He's doing this, maybe the time Son Goku also got polished like Medieval? I've not seen people come back to Son Goku. So I don't know actually. Yeah, you had that happen a couple of times with Keymailer, that it was months later, but most of the time it's been around release. Yeah, that's exactly the thing. It kind of sucks when it happens though, because you're like, okay, I would have loved to play your game, but now that's been months and months later, like, I'm looking at how your game's doing on content creation platform, and it's got 0 viewership, so like, you know, it'd be good for you to get someone to stream your game and maybe show interest in it, but for me as a creator, this is the worst time I could possibly stream it. Like, people wanted to check out to see if they were going to buy or not have already done that, and no one's looking for it. So unless it's a game I specifically want to play as like an indulgence kind of thing, it's just like, hey man, the answer's no. But yeah, so I did like a week ago accept the key for Son Goku just because, you know, I had gotten offered the key on there, and I had put on a poll being like, hey, do you want to check it out? And it was like the second most voted game at the time. I'm like, yeah, we'll do that. And then a bunch of other games happened, and it didn't happen, and I need to do it. Because otherwise you get dinged for not covering games you get keys for. It's all good. I would have potentially done it today, but with how much later we went than I had originally planned for Hollywood Animal, like starting a game and only putting in a couple hours or whatever, it's just like, nah, that's fine. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Maybe we'll start with Son Goku and just check it out and, you know, just kind of ad-lib it from there. Because I'm down to play more of this. Hollywood Animal, like I said, I'm really liking what they got there. I kind of want to wait and let it cook a little bit more because the lack of information is just killing me. Being stuck in tutorial land, if I want to do another playthrough where all the events are very scripted, is pretty rough as well. And those are early access pains I fully expect to go away. What other games? Oh yeah, Synergy is releasing in 1.0 recently, and that was a game I always meant to cover, and it just didn't happen. That's another, I believe you'd call it a city builder. But like the idea is like you can, like as you do stuff, you can screw up the planet kind of thing. And so a lot of it is around balancing your impact on stuff. All right, I did use all those logs, didn't I? Okay, let's get ourselves some food, drink some water. We got ourselves a new house built. So with the new house built, I should be able to get more people into our town to continue to grow the population. We do have a little bit of dried meat. I'm just gonna grab that stack of dried meat and call it a day there. So probably run to town today. That dried meat was not filling enough. Give me the dried fish. All right. And I may need to go out for a hunting round again to bring in more meat for cooking. Alright, so what we can do is start working towards town. Should be lurking, but it's time to find some nums. Oh, no problem. I appreciate the raid, I appreciate the lurk, and may you find your nums. Oh, we need to drink the water. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to hunt a couple of animals and all that. Because we need the meat. It'll be nice once we start being able to make the long and recurve bow to get a lot more damage. So that, like, hunting the bigger game becomes way more practical. Because I could take on a Barrow Wisent if I just put in a couple arrows to get it bleeding and then just stay away. Which usually, once you back off far enough, it'll just stand there and bleed and not know what to do. But in the meantime, we're kind of in the area of mostly killing deer and that. All right. Just getting lots of arrows, all like just surface hits, no bleeds. No. It turned. So I got the bard there. Yeah, so I'm keeping the inspect on. Alright, so that's a bleed, so that one will die. That's a bleed, so that one will die. And also, when you get the arrow stuck, it makes it way easier to find the bodies because you just walk around and all that. Alright, so we got you. Okay, you got a bleed on you, so you're gonna die. I believe that was just a surface hit. That's a bleed. If the deer wanted to live, they wouldn't be so food-shaped. Exactly. There are just spots of blood everywhere. Okay, there's another one bleeding. Oh no, it's a talent, Bentley. I had to get a skill for it. Normally it does cost stamina. It is a skill worth every penny. It sucks. The wolves are such a pain. Oh, the baby, I was like, what am I hearing? Why are you all standing here? Biggest enemies are wolves? Yeah, no, it's because they definitely can come in groups very often. They're really fast, which is another thing that can work against you. They have a tendency to like swerve a lot as they run at you, which makes it, you notice like I held my shot because like I don't know if I got this shot. And all that. And thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Okay, we drop all that off. We did get some meat. The downside is because I got downed, and that's one of the big differences you run into between this map and the other map, is even though I'm not playing multiplayer, it just treats the way you die entirely different on this map than the other way. You respawn versus the other one, it forces you to reload. The good news, we keep everything and all that, and it's totally fine. Doctor, I think she can help you. Oh, so far as heal me? Maybe. Meanwhile, all those bleeding deer should be everywhere. About regenerating health? Yeah. We can check later. I'm not super worried about the wolves. That was just, I noticed the one body was too close, and I was just like, I'm gonna go for it anyways. I'm gonna be pretty salty if we lost all those deer because of like the game reloading or something like that. Nope, okay, they're over here. I also had plenty of time I could have shot the wolf when I was trying to approach. And then I chose not to in hopes it would de-aggro, like I could just stay away and it would un-aggro. Then, you know, once it started running, it's like, alright, well, I guess I'm fighting this thing. Okay, you're bleeding. Got a copper arrow. Yeah, these are the copper arrows from where we fought the wolf. I'm not seeing the wolf this time, so let's just grab this body and get away. Got another deer that decided to die way over here in the wolf's area. Okay. So the one on the right is already injured. Okay, we got a bleed on that one as well. And it went down. You died for this deer? Yep. Yeah, so just trying to get an abundance of meat. That way our cook can keep cooking to keep our people fed. I am growing plants. I'm just not getting nearly enough fertilizer to support them yet, which has been a pretty difficult problem for us to deal with. We do have the pigs. It's just still not enough. All right. Alright, I think these are the last two. Oh, I canceled it too soon. Would you get away from the wolf's area? Like, you should be afraid of that area as much as you're afraid of me. And get a little bit more meat in a rabbit while we are a little fur while we're waiting for those deer to succumb to the injuries we've stacked up on them. I hate that. Okay, that was a hit. One wolf down. Oh, there's two wolves over there. Let's back up. Did you finally get to dying over here, dear? Or are you not? Okay. And a new level in hunting. Which is good, because I don't get many of those, because one, I don't spend too much time hunting, and it levels relatively slow. Okay, so let's take a look at our hunting skill. We did get one skill point, so we can get extra resources from wild animals. Slower stamina consumption during that. Faster aiming and loading. Let's do the faster, because in a pinch where I'm fighting like a bear or something, getting more arrows out faster is going to be the most important thing for surviving. That's effectively how fast it can do how much damage. Alright, so downside is I don't have many arrows left in this bow before the bow breaks. And those wolves are just kind of chilling nearby these buys. Did you move? Am I good? There's one wolf over there on the right. I believe that's all the deer. It looks like it's running away. Oh, that's not what you want. Okay. So we are right about dead. But I am hoping we can retrieve our arrows. Without making over any more friends. I heard you bark. Oh, right. That broke. Give.
Thank you Randall for 1812 for gifting a sub to Flemsneezy.
And thank you Randall Thor for gifting a tier 1 sub to Flemsneezy. Flemsneezy, you got yourself some nice advertisement-free viewing as well as access to the emotes so you wonder not. So thank you so much for that, Randall Thor. Alright, we still got the wolf over there. My bow's broken, so I can't do anything with that. I got 2 copper spears. If I hit it one more time, it is dead. And it's somewhere over here. Come on. Stop pacing and come towards me. Because you running back and forth is going to be real hard to hit. There we go. All right. I forget what we were going to town for. Let's go home. Actually, first let's go in the water so we're not gross. Let's go home, drop off all the meat, fur, and hide. Talk to wife and see if she can't heal us, since people mentioned that. And then try to remember what the heck we were talking about going to town for. Okay. Also, let's check on our management, because I haven't looked at that in a little while. Okay, so you have one who's expecting a kid. We've got one who's in the status of mother, so they're caring for kid. We did manage to kill 3 wolves, and basically all of the deer. Yeah, it's a bit of RNG. I mean, we're dropping stuff off. We can talk to her anyways. If she does, great. If not, that's fine too. We're probably at the point to switch over to our winter clothes, because we're in mid-fall. How am I doing on money, by the way? I don't remember where we're at. $92. We are doing horrifically on money because, not because we haven't been earning it like the other one. It's been one of those things, I get the money and I immediately turn around and spend it. Okay, so here have a pile of 109 meat. You made me a flatbread, so that's perfect. I will eat your flatbread. And then we'll have the hides and fur and all that. They are working on it. Oh, right, we're going to town to get 2 people. That's right, we built a house. And we were in need of more people. And I don't remember what the heck people we need. I think we just need anything that isn't a diplomat, if I remember correctly. Is it true that you used to be a teacher? Yes. So I have been a teacher in 2 different capacities. For a good long while, I was a college instructor. So that's what's known as an adjunct instructor. Basically, it means I'm not a professor, but I still do teach classes. Versus professor, you got, stuff like tenure and all that going on. And then after that, I did, you've got formal and informal education. I was on the informal education side. And all you need to know with that is the difference between is formal means you're getting a degree or something on the other side. Informal is usually stuff like certifications or you're just learning a skill. That doesn't mean they're better or worse, they're just different purposes. So with the informal, what I would do is, say you got a degree in, like, computer science, and they taught you Java. And your boss goes up and says, I need you to know C#. I would teach you C#. But it wasn't just those languages, a bunch of languages. So thick gloves, we can toss in here, because they don't stack with the others. Okay. So I did do both. So I've worked at formal universities, as well as I've also worked at the informal, just teaching people skills.
There is no try. How are you?
Oh, dang, you're injured badly. How many times have I told you to watch out for yourself? Never mind, I'm gonna make sure you're good as new. That's why I married you. It's not, but we can go with that.
Have a nice day.
Oh, she, like, fully healed me. Do you have any surprising experiences from that? Surprising experiences from that. How would I go with that? So, maybe not surprising experiences is the correct word, but when I was doing the college instruction, I was teaching computer repair, advanced computer repair, beginning computer repair, advanced computer repair, and CompTIA A+ certification, which used to be like a really important cert for if you wanted to get into IT and all that back in the day. It's still a useful cert, but where it used to be like, if you wanted to be in this job, you get it. Now it's a lot more nuanced. With that said, I generally didn't have much problem with like students because it was a course that you were only there if you wanted to be there. It wasn't some general ed course or whatever. So if you signed up for the class, you went out of your way to sign up because you wanted it. And with that, I generally had very little problems with my students passing. Because again, they were there because they were wanted there. It wasn't like English Lit or whatever, where, you know, you want to be an engineer and you're told you got to learn this. And so you're not interested. But I did have one student that was like right on that fence that, you know, pulled him aside one day and was like, hey, here's the deal. With where you're at in the course right now, unless you get basically an A on everything for the rest of the course, you're done. Like, you know, I've tried to kind of go to you being like, hey, you got to make sure you're turning your stuff. Hey, you got to do your you know, got to make sure you're doing your work and all that. And just unfortunately, like, you have continued to not do that. So like, at this point, you can still pass, but you got to be basically perfect. And to his credit, he should have technically failed by 1 point. But, like, after that point, he just, you know, slammed the lever the full other way. Basically just about aced everything for the rest of the course. Just, you know, not quite as perfect as it could have been. And so, you know, I nudged the number. Like, at that point, it's, like, very clearly, you've learned the material. I'll fudge the 1 point.
How do you do?
But he left his notebook behind. And even from the very beginning of the course, he had some of the most immaculate notes I've seen covering everything. It was basically he just didn't give a crap and didn't do his homework. Which I didn't give much homework. But, you know, just kind of just didn't do the work for the class. And so it's kind of one of those things that surprised me that I'm like, you're clearly a smart person. You just didn't want to do any of the work and all. And that's going back, like, that was very early in my education career. I know much better ways to deal with things nowadays so far as, like, assignments and whatever. Versus that, I didn't give you, like, lots of homework. It's actually something you can knock out in, like, 10 minutes, even if you don't know the topic very well. But it was that I would give homework. Versus nowadays, I'd have much different approaches to a lot of that from what I learned. But that was beginning career. We could just buy that wheel and be done with it. I was hoping to find fertilizer. The manure would work. Oh, right, we have, like, no money. Never mind. Okay. Well, we were here to recruit 2 people. But yeah, so it was just the fact that, like, he had left his notebook behind by mistake or whatever. It's like this, or he deliberately left it. I mean, I don't think that's the case. But it's like, all right, very clearly, you were taking notes, you're smart, but, like, very genuinely, you just didn't care until you were like, oh, wait, I'm gonna fail. But yeah, that was a one outlier. It's just kind of one of those things that when it came to my classes, on the college level, it was in person. On the, like, the certifications, I was authoring, interactive courses and all that, so there was a little bit of a step removed. Let's see, you don't mind getting your hands dirty, so you would farm. I do believe I need another farmer. So I will just go ahead and, without anything else, let's go ahead and bring you into the colony. And you're 19, so we want to find someone who's not super different in age. What are you good at? You don't mind getting... Alright, so I only needed 1 farmer.
Take care.
I know I don't need a second one.
Oh, it's you again.
And what are you good at? So you're a diplomat. I really don't need a diplomat.
Hello.
What are you good at? You have survivalist?
My favorite. Good luck.
Alright,
How do you do?
what aren't you good at? Fieldwork. I'll take a chance with you. I don't think I need a survivalist, but I don't need a diplomat. As much as I don't need a survivalist, I really don't need a diplomat. Like, I've got a couple people who can do it, I just don't have anything for them to do. So yeah, so you are farming 3. So let's go ahead And we can look here. So we got farming skill there. We have the animal breeder there. We have the animal breeder there. For right now, I will put you as a second farmer. And just double check to see if there's any of the other ones that use the farming skill. Oh, the barn. I probably will need that. Oh, you broke your tools. You probably will need the barn later. But right now I'm going to put her as being a farmer there. We'll want to change that down the road. But when we get like the donkey pen and all that built, we can just assign her to that. Alright, so you live together. And you are good at diplomacy and survival. And you're actually, really farming's the only thing you're not good at. Let's say, did you ever make a difference in students' life? I generally, so that's the things, you can't really ever know that. They're out of the picture by the time you realize what impact you've had. I would like to think so. I generally had very positive responses by my students. Like, that was back in the days when, like, rate my professor was a big thing. And generally speaking, on those I was fairly highly rated. So I'd be pretty shocked if I didn't have a positive influence, because that'd be a real bummer to feel like you didn't have a positive influence. That'd be a real difficult thing to deal with. If that were the case. Because I know people got jobs that were required CompTIA plus certification, so certainly they got work with them there. And I like to think that individual in question that, you know, hopefully they did better after that point. But I didn't have much of, like, a personal relationship so far as with my students, to the point where, like, I didn't know a lot of their troubles or anything like that. It was college, so you don't get much of that. That's usually more in elementary, middle school, high school, that you see a lot more people wanting to sit down to their teachers, you know, because it's, you know, a parent they trust, and be like, hey, you know, I'm dealing with this, and talk it through. Because there's a lot of things that students go through that, because parents are effectively an authority figure to them, that they're not as comfortable talking to a parent. They want a third-party adult to talk to, especially if it involves the parent. And so teachers end up being that adult a lot of the time, because a lot of teachers do a good job of building up trust in their students. It's hard to be an effective teacher if you don't at least build up some level of rapport with your students. But again, that's usually younger. By the time you're getting to college level, you know, if it was a difficulty with a parent, a lot of time those students are no longer dealing with their parents as much, so that's not really a big problem anymore. And then a lot of other stuff developmentally, that's settled one way or the other by the time they get to college. Not always, but it's a lot less often. And then, like, for my advocacy with people with neurodivergent conditions, this is a long time ago, that for as much has changed recently, like so far as changes in our knowledge, that was before a lot of that information was a big thing, and that's before I was nearly as well knowledged on it as well, so I wouldn't have been able to help much. That's really expensive to build with the number of planks it takes. That's also not one that's a priority for me, so I don't mind if it takes a while. What was I running back here for? I have a little fur and a little meat. We already got our people assigned. Oh, right, I need to make whatever tool they were missing for the farming. It no longer says they're missing a tool. Okay, let's go to the Farm shed. It says your bag is about on its last limb. Let's go make a couple of bags. That way our people have bags to plant the field and all that. Gotcha, and I can make the crappy bags relatively cheap as well. Then go to the farm building, which is way over here. So you actually have some spare fertilizer. Now I can go over here to this building to drop off the little bit of meat we grabbed. Looks like they're getting able to make some more flatbread and all that. We're starting to get a lot of produce, a lot of cabbage and all that. There's a good chance a lot of that is going to rot, and then we can make fertilizer with the rot. I do believe that's going to kind of be what's necessary for us to reach a point that I can farm my entire field, is just growing a bunch of material, using that material to make more fertilizer at kind of a loss. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be a bunch more shingles over there to make the donkey pen. I'm not super worried about that. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and queue up another house. There's not really room for a proper house. That line honestly bothers me more than any of the other ones. Just people like, I don't want to be lonely anymore. And you're like, dude, like, this town is full of, like, bachelor and bachelorettes. Be a little less picky, and you're good. Like, don't get me wrong. The population is what it is. You're gonna be picking between what's available. Yeah, that's not storage. There's a lot of people like just standing in the middle of town. Okay, it's over here. And drop off the feather here. Drop off the logs. Give me that bronze shovel. Drop off the sticks. Maybe they just don't pick him. I mean, this is fair. Why would you be picky about the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with? Well, I mean, you're still rooming either way. So, like, you can be picky about it. You're still living in the same house. Where'd the tree? There's a tree stump. Okay. What is blocking you? Oh, are you too close to the road, maybe? That could be it. That'd suck if that's the case. Because don't have a lot of room over here. Having a hard time with the house? Yeah, I'm probably just gonna have to wait till daytime because I can't see where I'm putting it. Is the real problem. But I think the answer is we just drop off our logs and all that. I work on getting ore from the mine because we haven't done that for a while. And I don't think we've done it yet this season. So I should keep that going before we run out. First, let me go ahead and grab a little bit more food. And all that, we can work on the mine for a little bit. Keep getting our ore up. Let's see, do you feel like reading Rate Your Professor made you a better teacher? Or would you get nasty comments? Well, I never got a negative comment. Like, not a big one. Like, you know, there's definitely things that people want, it's like, oh, I wish we had covered this a little bit more, like, kind of stuff. But that's not really, it's not really a negative comment for all intents and purposes. But generally speaking, I had nothing but positive comments. As far as, like, do I think it meaningfully helped anything with the class? Not really. That was when the website was fairly new. And generally speaking, most of the comments are, they're a good instructor, or they're a terrible instructor. There wasn't a whole lot of in-between there. So it wasn't super useful. It's like I only ended up checking it once or twice, and just that it was vaguely positive. I'm sure occasionally an instructor probably got a thing saying, hey, the teacher just didn't explain, you know, this in detail, or they rushed through this. I'm sure that did happen. It just, you know, I was kind of an elective, so I didn't have a large number of students, like just raw total. Like, that's the thing, on the rate my professor, even though it is anonymous, I could look at the com and be like, I know what student wrote that. Like, I didn't go up to and, like, confront them over it or anything, but it's like, yeah, you get kind of the idea that way people write and all that from doing courses with you. And then you see the comment like, yeah, I know who wrote that. They have a writing style, and I can tell it just by looking at it. That's a catch with anonymized data. Anonymized data is only good as, like, the sample size you're pulling from. It's like, if you have a comment from, like, one individual anywhere on the internet and there's never more to it, yeah, your chance of figuring out who it is basically none. But the more and more you parse down how many different people it can be, the easier and easier to narrow it down to one. So we've had, like, the conversation about, you know, people being like, oh, yeah, no, I'm careful on social media. No one could figure out where I am or whatever. It's like, no, you'd be surprised. Like, you know, people talk about, you know, like, we'll bring up, like, swatting is not, like, you know, as a big deal kind of thing, or, you know, people getting all stalkery or that kind of thing. And I've been fortunate that I haven't had any meaningful problems on content creation side. But I used to do lots and lots of conference talks before the pandemic. And I had a couple of times where people made threats or whatever because I advocated for women in technology, and some people are pieces of shit. With their company email, which I reported to their HR department. People aren't very smart. But it's just kind of one of those things that you get into and you're like, okay, if you're on camera, you know, people can figure out are you male or female presenting. That alone, without any other information, cuts down the entire world population by about half of who you could be. And then if they know, like, okay, well, you're in this state, well, you basically just cut down the population of who it could be in the world to somewhere in the area of, like, 5% of the world's population. You've already knocked it out. That you've effectively ruled out 95% of the world population. And that they could vaguely make out, it's like, you're probably in your 30s or 40s or whatever. Okay, well, you got that down to maybe 1 or 2% of the world's population you could be. And you get the idea. The speed of which it drops down to a number of people that's small enough, you're like, no, reasonably you could walk to individuals' houses one by one. Or not walk, but like go to people's houses one by one and identify the person. It is terrifyingly fast on how little information you need to do that. According to our anonymous employee survey, you don't trust management? What's up with that? Oh yeah. No, that was I've been at a lot of employers who they're like, yeah, we're trying, and like some of them were doing it for not good reasons, and some of them were doing it for very genuinely well-meaning reasons. So like we had an HR department who I knew everyone involved, and they were like very genuinely trying to get good information from the staff so they could take it to management, you know, try and help management get better employee retention. Like there wasn't some shady ulterior motive or anything like that. It was genuine, they're trying to help. So like, all right, we're gonna do this anonymous survey. And they were kind of going, man, it sucks. We're really having difficult people taking this. And I kind of had to pull them aside. It's like, well, yeah, if you look at the departments in the company, other than 1 or 2 departments, most of the departments are all of like 5 or 6 or 7 people. Like, I answer more than 2 questions with that small of a sample size, and I've outed myself as an individual. Now, granted, I usually did take the survey because I was always a very vocal person to begin with. I always took it, like, kind of my philosophy behind it was I would rather say and try and do the right thing for people around me and get fired for doing it than not say anything and keep my job. Like, I knew in a lot of ways I benefited from privilege against my will, and so kind of the way I saw it is like, well, I'm going to speak up for those who, you know, it's very difficult for them to speak up for themselves. Which, there was 1 or 2 jobs I am amazed I never got fired for, because there was definitely times where I got told stuff by my bosses, like, the answer is no. Like, the answer is a hard no, like, there is no amount, like, it's like, you are going to have to decide if you are willing to fire me for this. Like, that's where we're at here. Like, I am prepared to lose my job on my stance, are you prepared to let me go on yours? And I never did get fired. There were definitely some times that I'm like, yep, this is my last day at the company. Just waiting for it. Because I put my foot down pretty hard, and I was just waiting for it. Never did happen, which again, genuinely surprised me. But that was the same boss where like, no, you have to do this, like, this, like, you have to do it, like, this isn't a discussion. I'm like, but it is. You can say I have to do it, I'm saying no. This is where the lines have been drawn, that you have in your toolkit to resolve this of either back down or fire me. Those are your options. Because I won't accept a reprimand either. Like, a reprimand I will take as termination. Like, this is my stance I am taking. I am dying on this hill. And you need more than me, more than I need you. That was a terrible job anyways. I've liked most of the jobs I've worked. That was the one major outlier though. That was a job I noticed a pretty horrific red flag like only a month or two after I started. I was like, it's probably a one-off. They laid off like a third of the company right after I got hired. It was not a one-off. I ignored entirely too many red flags at that place. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20. I'd like to say I made a positive difference in the company other than their bottom line, but I know when I left from talking to people later that basically I left and was no longer acting as like the mitigating factor between the middle manager and the people who were underneath me. That it was just dominoes. Rual is colorblind? I don't know what you're... So, I actually don't like the phrase colorblind, because often the people who tend to use that are people trying to be dismissive of problems. And I know that's not what's being meant here. But that is... Oh, you ignored the red flags? Yeah. Okay, I got you. Like, just with the context where I said, you know, like... Oh, because I didn't mention the thing. In the same company I'm talking about in the past, the thing that was like the huge thing that created, like, I created a lot of drama on after the fact, which I wish I knew what I know now. No, you're good. That I wish I knew now is when I had started that job, there had been, you know, 6 or 7 devs in the department and all that. And there was a guy who had been there much longer than I had, extremely competent person, and all that. And when they did the layoff, he was one of the ones that got let go. And at the time, it was like, you know, you go home after there's a bad layoff, and you're like, all right, well, why was I the one spared? Like, what made me stand out over the other one? And I kept coming back to this one guy. I'm like, I don't understand why he got let go and I didn't. Like, he was more knowledgeable on the product. Like, and it comes to our skill set, there's not an appreciable difference. Like, you know, I don't understand why I wasn't let go and this person was. And I didn't find out till way later why it was when I caught my boss throwing out applications based on protected things. We'll simply say English names applications survived and not English names didn't survive. And I called him out on that crap when it happened, because I had looked over all the applications because I was the team lead, and we were sitting on, I think it was like 13 or whatever applications, and we're like, we only have the time to interview maybe 8. And he took like a bunch of them, just threw them in the trash, and I pulled it back. I'm like, why'd you toss these? Like, I need to know, like, what is it you saw in these that I didn't? And he's like, they're not a good culture fit. And it was one of those things like, you just threw out all the people who didn't have like English names, man. And then in that hindsight 2020 thing, looking back, it's like, oh, they got rid of the minority person when they did their layoffs. And it was the individual boss that was the problem. And that messed with my confidence for a long time. That really, really screwed me over for a while. Serious imposter syndrome after that for a while. And like I said, I wish I knew what I knew now, because what I knew now, I would have been reporting that crap. At the moment, I didn't know what to do with any of that. Because I was still pretty early career at that point. Now, so I can roast the meat. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, I can make a lot of soup. All right, let's make some heckin' soup. I misread. I was like, I can make 4. It's like, okay. Oh no, that's 41. That's a very different number. But yeah, so it was a whole big thing. But yeah, not mess with my confidence, because you know, at that point I'm like, I didn't feel like I earned that job and all that. Like, and I never did feel like I did. I came to terms with it later, but it's one of those things like, I didn't get this job on merit. Like, maybe, like, again, I felt like I was kind of on the skill set the equivalent to the person who got let go. And at the time, the way it kind of goes, like, hey, you know what, maybe there's something behind the scenes, like, maybe the person had talked to the boss and that they had been looking for another job, or, you know, maybe they negotiate a higher rate than me, and that was the difference. Like, you know, I like went through just trying to figure out why, because I didn't even think about the fact that they had gotten, you know, let go based on bigotry. And I didn't really come up, I think, but I had enough plausible reasons. But then, you know, seeing what happened there, I'm like, this isn't on merit. Like, you toss these people for a crappy reason. Whether or not you recognize your bias, it's clearly there. But yeah, no, but for after that, you know, we had out of our like our data analysts, you know, it started to put that, like, that one though, both individuals, like, there was no winning. Both individuals were solid, but it was another one of those ones that you look at that as like, that also may have been a strong bias moment there. But, you know, it was a thing that had been a job that had been, like, instrumental in kicking off, like, part of my career. And then you're like, you know, my foundation is based on something pretty effed up. But later I came to terms with, it's like, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. You know, obviously it was a crappy thing that shouldn't have happened that way. But, like, I didn't know, like, I couldn't do it. But it's one of the reasons why I do so much of the advocacy is like, hey, I know for a fact I have benefited from this. Like, I can point at instances I benefited from it. You know, people being crappy like that in my benefit, like, I didn't get the choice. And so I'm gonna do my best to, you know, not make up for it, because it's not like I owe a debt, but to try and make that not a thing as best I can. Which, so, like, at the time, the big thing I was doing is advocating for women in technology when I went to these conferences. That, like, I would be on a panel talking about whatever framework with, you know, 3 or 4 other people. And I've told this story before, that, so it's an open panel, so people would ask questions in the audience, and you'd be like, oh, hey, yeah, this, whatever. You know, typical panel talk. And I had a guy, and I'm not going to say the framework in question, because in doing this one, I risk doxing myself as well as the other individual involved. But the guy was asking about a framework, and he was like, hey, you know, Rual, I have this question about the framework, whatever. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, so actually, I'm not the one who's really the most knowledgeable on this panel for that. Like, this lady next to me, she helped write that entire framework. So I'm going to defer this question to her, because she is simply the subject matter expert up here. Like, she knows more than I do. And he was like, I didn't ask her. Which did not go well with the audience. Or basically anyone. And it was when we'd have moments like that in the talks, a lot of times I would get an email, you know, sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, get an email being like, I got emails where I got called, like, a beta cuck and a whole bunch of other things. And it was just, you know, again, when it came up, is like, oh yeah. Or yeah, feels like, oh, there's no discrimination. I'm like, you're wrong. Like, I'm sorry, you're wrong. I can objectively point to so many instances. Like, you might feel that way, and that's fine, but you're objectively incorrect. And then you get this whole big thing of people being stupid. The one where the guy sent it using his company email blew my mind more than anything. That this dude is being, like, openly misogynistic with his company email, and it's just like, what do you think I'm gonna do? You know, I forward that on to your HR department. I don't know what happened to the guy, but, like, how stupid can you be? I made it a thing that if I was gonna talk at conferences, you had to have a posted code of conduct. That basically included that, like, you know, don't touch people without consent and all that. Because we were having... Still to this day we have big problems in conferences. Some of those things aren't as bad. Because when you're that stupid, you assume everyone else is as well. Oh yeah, no, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, a lot of the dumbest people I ran into always thought they were the smartest. You've ruined my job. My brother in JavaScript. You're the one who's sending this kind of crap using your company email. My brother in JavaScript. Let me let you in on a secret. The JavaScript didn't help you. For the record, JavaScript is actually a very powerful language and you know, all that. It's definitely a language I like to beat up on because I don't personally like it. I respect its power. I have used it a ton myself, and I, you know, if the content creation thing didn't work out and it went right back into dev, I would use it a bunch more in my future. It's still one of my least favorite languages to deal with, but I respect it. It is useful. It is powerful. It is inconsistent, is my biggest complaint. Like, once you learn the method behind the madness of it, it's fine. Did I eat the bull? Where'd the bull go? The bull must have been its last bit of durability. There we go. Let's say you know nothing about coding, but that's the first coding script your brain produced. I mean, of the scripted languages, it's certainly the most well-known and popular because it works on everything. Just some extra fiber, I guess. We ate the wood bull too. We're like, no, we're not done here. All right, so let's try and get this. Did you just yell at me about a mushroom? What? So let's try and get another house place. So I think we're just too close to the shore now to put it. Yeah, so we're too close to the shore to shove another house over here. And I think we're too. Oh, that's what was holding us up. We had one tree stump still in the ground right there, or not tree stump, branch. Oh, that still didn't help. Can I twist it to face towards the road? Yeah, okay. So you can't go there. That's fine. Am I missing a log or something here? No, it's just tree branches and they don't hurt you. Wood bowl? You thought you said bread bowl? Nope. There's apparently another log over here I missed at some point. Okay. So basically the decision I'm having to make is we've got our farms over here. And I want to add more houses. But we're kind of cramped with where we're at. All part of a balanced diet? Yeah, you got to get that fiber. So probably over here. We don't have houses over here until now, but we are getting to the point where it's getting pretty cramped. Let's also see. Okay, so we got the water line right there. And they got rid of the shovel, so let's go grab that back. But yeah, no, it was always a thing. But yeah, I always had to deal with random people who were just weird. But I like doing that. It's actually one of the things that made me pretty happy that really did help is I could have certainly leaned on. I have on the dev side because of all the conferences, and then I did work on tech stacks where, like, literally if you are running anything that is written in C#, congratulations, you're running on some of my code. Or for .NET, that matters. So VBNet, C#, you have versions of C++ that have the .NET framework underneath it. F#, all of that. If you're running any of that, it means you're running on some of my code, which means if you're running Unity, you are also running on some of my code. Because I worked on the underlying framework, not for Microsoft, but on my own, like doing open source work. They'll probably be fine. Yeah, it'll be snug. It'll be fine. But yeah, so it's a whole thing that I've got that, like, recognition and all that. And so it made me pretty happy that I got into content creation and I made the deliberate decision that it was not, as one, I wanted to keep it detached from my professional, like, career as a dev. And then two, I wasn't going to lean on at all any of the recognition I already had. So if I built up any success here, it wasn't just riding on past success kind of thing that, and all that. So it's kind of the whole thing. If I did it more than once, maybe there's more to it. So you run in a bug or whatever in Unity based on that game, blame Rual. Sure, why not? I would say what parts I had worked on the framework, but then again, that's where you start narrowing it down way too much. That is a level of narrowing down where it's like, how many people could have been working on this? One. Alright, so I need to make another pickaxe. I don't think I have spares. I might actually just have a spare pickaxe sitting here. Bronze pickaxe. I've got 3. I'll take 1. But yeah, so it's one of those things that, like, I didn't name drop myself or other connections when I started the channel. Like, at first I wasn't even planning on doing anything with the channel. Like, I was just streaming for a couple of friends and all that. But then when it started to build up and I'm like, oh, I can do something with this, I just made the deliberate decision to be like, yeah, I'm going to keep this totally separate from all of my dev stuff. Because one, then there's no detaching my dev stuff from my real name and all of that, which is, there would be no question about doxing yourself at that point. It would be straight up handing that information out, and that just, you know, it didn't want to go there. And then also, that way, ride or die, succeed or fail, it was on what I did here. Past stuff not playing a part of it. You know, minus if we're being truly honest, I still did benefit from the skills I gained from doing all the public speaking and yada yada yada. Like, there's still benefit I got that did help me. But at least from, like, the name recognition side of things, I wasn't riding on any of that. There was a name drop thing that did pop in my head. I'm not going to say it. I will simply say there is a leading figure at Microsoft that I beat in Mrs. Pac-Man, or Miss Pac-Man, or whatever it's called. And that there had been a bet related about, like, over that game, about they would do something for me if I won. I won't say what, because that starts to get, again, to dox myself. I totally forgot about that. It was at an arcade in Portland, Oregon, when I was there for a conference. That he was there as well, and apparently he was a ringer in Miss Pac-Man. I am not a ringer in Miss Pac-Man. But it was like, I think it was like, was it like 4-way multiplayer or whatever? And so I really kind of rode on the success of everything going wrong with everybody else. I think that was, man, it's been so long. That was one of the arcade bar kind of things, and those are all like the big thing. They're still around and they're still pretty cool. Like, they still, I mean, that place probably still exists there. I'm not gonna say the name for obvious reasons. I do enjoy, like, the retro arcade bar. I haven't been to one of those in forever. But I knew a number of conferences who that was a thing they'd do for one of their after parties. Because it's one of those things, if you don't drink, there's enough other stuff there, so it's not like it's a bad experience for you, so that's fun. Usually with retro games, like those arcade bars will have like so many different variety of games. Even if you're not like a quote-unquote gamer, there's still like skee ball and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to be into games to still have a good time. It's also good for a much wider range of age groups. Because again, if you're someone who grew up with a lot of these games, you have like all the nostalgia and all that going on, and that's fun. If you happen to be someone who's a lot younger, you know, they would still have games that you would enjoy, even if they're not something you're as familiar with. Because like the year range for retro is pretty wide. You'd still have like pinball and all those kind of things. There's lots of pinball machines at those kind of places. You miss the retro arcades? Yeah. So there's still around that you can get retro arcade bars. Like you got like the big places that they're more just retro, like not even retro, they're just arcades. I'm blanking on the name. There's a pretty big chain that's in a lot of areas. My brain is not working. But not really the retro arcade side of things. Oh my god, I cannot remember. There's not many big arcades out anymore. Can someone think of like big arcade nowadays that, you know, geared mostly for adults? They'll usually have like food and like drinks and all that. Not really a retro arcade bar or anything like that. Dave & Buster's. Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of. You've got Dave & Buster's. That's not a retro arcade bar. But, like, you still got those kind of arcades. For the retro arcade kind of stuff, that's usually, like, the bar kind of thing. Well, I mean, Dave & Buster's, yeah, it's a sports bar, but, like, it is a sports bar with a big arcade in it. But the retro arcade bar, again, is when you're talking, like, Missile Command and Pac-Man and Dig Dug and all those kind of things. Those you usually find out there, they tend to be more in big cities, because they're just a themed bar, like a novelty bar. Like I know well actually I don't know if it's still there. There at least was one in Orlando, which is pretty cool. I got to go there back when my office was in Orlando. And it was pretty snazzy that like, if I remember correctly, the people who owned the place used to be employees at Universal Studios that would do movie props for the actual studio, and they decided to open up a retro arcade bar in downtown. I don't know if they're still around. Downtown Orlando got utterly annihilated when like the tourism in that downtown area kind of just imploded. Because it used to be that downtown Orlando was a very big clubbing scene. But over the years, just clubbing itself, by itself, kind of has had a much lower number of people doing it in general. And then you also had the pandemic really kind of eviscerated things. And then a lot of the styles of clubs that were in downtown Orlando were kind of going out of style. Do I have more than one torch? Yeah, I got 5. Like they just weren't the type of clubs that people were looking for anymore. Like the younger people were looking again more for like retro arcade bar kind of clubs, and all that. Downtown Orlando's cool, but all the cops... Yeah, I mean, but that's because we kept having shootings and that kind of stuff happening. I mean, like, out of the mass shooting events in the United States, I don't know if it's still the case, but the second largest one occurred in downtown Orlando, Pulse nightclub. Like, that may not be there anymore as, like, that high. But, like, that happened... and then there was 2 other club shootings that were nowhere near as big, that were just like a handful of people. And so they ended up finally just putting a thing in place, being like, hey, if you're gonna hold these kind of events, you gotta have security and metal detectors and a whole bunch of stuff. And that did pretty much kill the scene for clubbing down there. Took something that was already in a bad place and just finished it off. But at the same time, it was becoming, like, not even becoming, it was a big problem. Yeah, exactly. It was one of those things that, like, it killed the vibe of the scene, but at the same time, it was occurring. And, like, and that's by and large that Orlando isn't a particularly high crime area or anything. It was just that specific thing was happening too much. Oh yeah, no, I feel like it's a danged if you do, danged if you don't. Because you had a lot of people doing copycat crimes was the problem. And so they could either ignore it and it would keep happening, or you could do something, and no matter what, you lose. You remember that in the news? Yeah, no, at the time, that was tough, because that was my office was downtown at the time. Like literally where that where Pulse nightclub was. Like, I would walk past it, not super frequently, maybe like once or twice or 3 times a month, because there was a fried chicken place down there I liked, and my office was close enough at that time that I could walk to that fried chicken place, so I would walk past it. The hospital was like on the other side of the road, that kind of thing. Well, it was in that area. But yeah, so it was a thing that, like, when that happened, that was tough, because I was only, like, literally I went past that place only a couple hours. Nah, I mean, not a couple. I only went past it hours beforehand. Am I about to fill up my storage? Okay, we got a problem here. My storage building is right about to break 2,000. And all that. Yeah, you're a frisky queer teenager, and even across the country. I mean, it, like, even outside the demographic, it was a huge deal. Because I mean, again, it was such a big event so far as the number of victims and all that. It was a real awful thing. Like, it was. We don't need to get in the details on it, but it was a tragedy. Let's see, your job is Northeast Orlando, so you get what you're saying. Yeah, one thing that did make me a little hopeful is before that we had a pretty strong, I mean, we still have a pretty strong, like, religious group in the Orlando area, and there's a pretty strong LGBTQIA plus group in the same area. And they used to always get at each other's throat. Not in a big way. It was kind of the religious group pushing for them to not be there and them pushing back, which, you know, understandable. But it was really nasty a lot. But after that event, a lot of that fighting went away. Because, like, the community very much did come together after that. Because there was so many people hurt that, like, everybody knew somebody, either directly or indirectly, that, like, the whole city kind of hurt for a while. Alright, so we've got the ore there. Oh, I don't need to be grabbing more ore. That's 133 copper ore sitting in that box. Okay. So the problem we have is this storage is basically full. It's really nice to hear the community overcame the ideological differences. Yeah. I can't speak for how it's now. I imagine it's nowhere near as strong as it was because of current events. But it is one of those things that did at least give some silver lining to what otherwise was just a tragedy. All right. But yeah, now that's the whole thing. You passed out and suddenly woke up. Let's see, it's good to see it happen because sometimes it definitely feels impossible. Oh yeah. No, and that's there's a it's a video that doesn't really. Do you remember the Blue Rhino propane fire? No. I usually didn't pay attention to, like, one-off fires and all that. Like, don't get me wrong, I know there's been some pretty nasty fires in the area. Like, Central Florida does get some pretty out-of-control wildfires. It's been a pretty long time since we've had a really bad one, though. We used to do controlled burns all the time to try and keep it down. And I could be just blissfully unaware because where I'm at isn't the area they normally were doing that. But yeah, no, we used to get lots of wildfires. So I do control burns a lot. Your job makes tanks for them? Gotcha. You know, I've always done software in the area, so the whole thing. You get a lot of controlled burns in there? Yeah, I'm imagining it still happens. I know when you look at what people refer to as Central Florida. To be clear for those outside Florida, when you're talking Central Florida, you're not talking horizontally, you're talking vertically. So Florida's, you know, it goes as like the big panhandle, it comes down into like the big peninsula. Central Florida is just kind of like that middle bar across the state. So from like you know, vaguely like the Tampa area to like the Orlando metro area over to like the Space Center and like Cocoa Beach and all that, and you know, Daytona-ish. But when you're talking about like the way the state actually is when you're going across it, that a lot of people when they visit from traveling don't realize is it's basically you've got like the Space Coast over here, and then there's a hell of a lot of swamp. And then there's like the Orlando metro area. And there's a hell of a lot of swamp. And then there's the Tampa area. And so usually the controlled burns they would do, it'd be in that like hell of a lot of swamp vaguely area. They wouldn't burn like the actual swamp parts. But there'd be like pine forests and all that around there that they would go through and they would burn that to keep it under control. So I'm not near that area at all. Like where they do the burns. I don't end up driving from the coast through the center of the state very often. It does happen from occasion, but it's not a day-to-day thing. So like I said, they could do controlled burns a lot, and I'd be blissfully unaware. And it's also we have different roads than when I was much younger. Like, I know I used to drive like State Road 50 and 46 and a bunch of these like little did you ever want to have 1,000 red lights along your way kind of roads. Nowadays we've got all the expressways and all that. Because you have a lot of pine and mahogany trees. Ooh, I didn't know they had mahogany trees down in that area. Those take a hell of a long time to grow. Alright. Love Cocoa Beach, great fishing there. I never did much fishing along the Space Coast area. Like, I was in that area a lot when I was younger. And I never did a lot of fishing over there. That was never really my kind of pastime. I did it when I was much younger. We go up to my grandparents had like a little, they called it a cottage. It was just like a little teeny tiny house. Along a canal way out in the middle of nowhere, Florida. Like the Palaka-Walaka area, for anyone who has any idea where that is. Basically, the butt end of nowhere. That's the only area. The butt end of nowhere that the only super relevant the super relevant part of it was way back in ye olden times when there was no development in the middle of the state anywhere. People who wanted to transport their goods from the Atlantic Ocean over to the Gulf, most of them just went the hell around. But for those who didn't, there was a trail that would go through, I believe, Palaka, where they had a wooden barge. So you'd go and you'd take your car or whatever, and you'd bring it across, you'd go onto this thing, then pull it on, and they'd get their stick, and then drag it across. I think they had, like, later on, they had a rope pulley to bring you across later. But you get your stick to cross over the swamp area, and then you go the other side. And it was like, you'd have to cross through so much swamp. No one hardly used that route on a real level. because it was just easier to take your boat around versus trekking across swamp. But that was like the only relevant thing for that area. So nowadays, all it is there's a cool ravine you can visit if you like wilderness areas. It's not a place you're going to burn a week. You're going to visit one day and be, cool, that was a part of my day, and now I need to find something else to do. Oh, you have a lot of sea grape wood for cooking. Super hard strong wood. Smells like coconut, freshly cut. Pretty pink color. Neat. Are you a big shark fisherman? Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not super excited by shark fishing. But, it's just, there's a lot of places that they're pretty, you know, they'll like cut the fin off and chuck the shark back, and it's particularly cruel. I'm not saying that's what you're doing or anything like that. Obviously, there's lots of places with laws against that. But it's just, you know, that's what I mentally associate it with. I don't have any like real objections with fishing in general. But I was never big on like big fish fishing. Right. So I gotta remember, my storage is practically full. Let's see if there's something in our storage that we can sell. How much time do I have left for today before it's nighttime? Not long. Let's see if there's something in storage I can grab to dump on the store, because it's basically full. Alright. Oh. So you're worth about 1. That's not much. So that seems to be... Well, I mean, the weight is only 2. So if we're going by weight, stone is the problem. Stone is literally over half of the weight. Is there something I can use a lot of stone for? Later on, I can make stone walls. Oh, you do sharp? Oh, you tag. Okay, yeah, that's much better. Because, like I said, unfortunately, the reality with most shark fishing is pretty awful. Yeah, no, but you're a tag releasing kind of thing. Yeah, that's a totally different animal. Yeah, that's no issue at all with that. Can I make stone benches? Wood. Okay. I need something I can burn a lot of stone on. Oh, I can make an archery target. That's cool. Stone campfire does not use enough for anything. Traps. Come on, man. That's interesting. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is the stone walls are really good, or stone fences, whatever you want to go. The problem is I have to be at 3,000 or 5,000 rep, and we're nowhere near that. So I'm running into the place where I just don't have what I need for that. I don't think giving myself another storage building will help much. I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because I could still put some stone in here. I think they share storage entirely, so it'll still be limited to 2,000. What I'm trying to do is see if I can't play the storage building. Object cannot be placed in water. There's no water there. Actually, if I put it on top of there, it's fine. So my thought here is if I put this over here, that maybe... Oh, I mean, it won't matter. No, that's not what I want. I'd be able to drop ore off into there, and it'd be fine. But because I was just thinking having it in range of that, I'm not super worried about that. We can get through that fast enough. So we got a couple things we can do. If I put that where there's a bunch of, like if I build one of those where there's a bunch of trees, that could become another source for stuff. The big issue is I'm trying to get rid of stone. And like I said, I think they have a shared capacity. So if I build another one, it doesn't give me another 2,000. I could be wrong about that. But that's the thing. Let's see, one time I thought we had sand shark on the line. It was a stingray. Could not tag it that day. Oh man, back when I mentioned that I'd go to like my grandparents' cottage to go fishing. They had a dock on it. Man, the number of times I caught stingray under that stupid dock. Stingray are no fun. We also would catch a lot of catfish, which could be their own pain in the butt. They do share storage, but each one adds capacity. Okay, if they add capacity, that's good. Alright, so with that, let's plan to get those. So we can be strategic on the storage. Some of the things we can do is I could build the storage really close to the town, or as close as I can get to one of the town. That way when I go to trade, I can just grab the stuff from storage and drop it off in town. Another thing I can do is look for an area that's got really good trees for cutting for when I need lumber, that I can just go to the storage building and hack down the forest around it so I'm not killing my trees right nearby where I live. But we'd want to find good trees for that, and unfortunately there's no way to look at the map that I'm aware of to see that. Because these are birch. Birch trees are the crappiest for getting wood. There's wolves up there and there, so we don't want to mess with that. The other thing I can do... the other thing I can do is not even go that far, not even worry about that. I could just put the storage on the other side of where all of our fields are. So that way, as I expand the town on that side... then I don't have to worry about it. Basically give us a much larger area of coverage for our storage thing, for building stuff, and yada yada yada. I think that makes the most sense for our immediate. We could go ahead and see about where the limit on our storage range is. Yeah, so you got a field here. Yeah, so you enter the storage range around there. So you're going to have overlapping circles. Can I put you over here by the water? Yeah, that'll be perfect. So what we can do here is build, storage... Alright. Yeah, that'll be fine. So I'll have the storage over there. So that'll be one place we can add storage. The next question, though, is where do we want to go to add a place for logging? Let's check... Oh, that's going to be the mountaintop. That's not going to... Well, the problem is we've got wolves here and up there and there. There's a big open spot here, but it's almost entirely... It's almost entirely birch. Let's head over here towards Astoya or whatever it is. And see if we can find if there's good trees along the way there that maybe Well, what we can do is let's head towards the actual town that we do all the quests in, and just see if it happens to be that they've got some decent trees somewhere in that area by the town. And so it can just be a thing that occasionally, like when I'm like, oh man, I just need a lot of lumber, I can run over there and just go through an axe or two, just knocking down all of the trees in the area. And just be set for a while. Because lumber has been our bottleneck. Because the downside is I still got to run between these things. And I'm thinking if I could find lumber near the town, I get the added bonus of then I've got storage near the town that if I'm like, okay, it's time to sell a bunch of stuff, I can make, 20, 30, 40 axes or whatever I can't reasonably carry, run over to town, grab them out of storage. It'll also give me storage nearby the town that I can leverage for doing the quests or whatever. Okay, those are maple trees. Okay, no dangerous animals nearby. Now we're back to birch over here. Birch are the crappy ones. There's nothing dangerous here? No. Not that I'm seeing, at least. Feels like a place I'd find a bear or wolves, though. Well, I keep checking out of concern. Yeah, we're definitely getting too far away from town for this to be worth using for a town spot. And it's all birch up here. Finding lots of animals. Yeah, we're way too far from town. Okay. Alright, we got moose over there. It's also possible we could just find a place that just got a ton of animals worth hunting nearby. And that could be another worthwhile place when the meat gets low, you just run up there and just go on a rampage for a while. Clear out all the surrounding animals. That actually might work out. So there's town there. Check on the other side of here. It looks like it's probably more birch, and I might just need to accept that we're getting birch. It's not bad. You just only get 2 logs from birch versus the maple is 4, and then the, I think it's spruce is 3. I've already looted that. No dangerous animals around here, right? Nope, not really. Okay, so just across the street. Honestly, that's fine. Okay, we're not going to finish this up before the season changes and I get kicked back home. But if we can get the foundation down at least. When I come up, nope. When I come back in the future, I can spot it easy. Okay, so that gives me a couple places to work on. So when I have nothing else going on, we can go ahead and get those set up. So I have easier access to get a bunch of trees. It also means I can deforest that. Okay, so we got ourselves 2 new pigs. That'll help with our manure production. Okay, so you still have wee little baby. All right. And pop over here. That's annoying. There we go. So I've got those. Alright, and we can go over to where we get food from. Drop off the mushrooms. I'll grab a unit of flatbread for the road. There's a bunch of soup and scrambled eggs and lots of goodies in there now. Okay, so first up, we run to town. And once we get to town, we check on the quests and all that, do all those things. I've got a quest marker in town. Someone wants something, which means they'll probably ask me for something expensive or otherwise annoying to get to make them happy. And if I don't do it, they'll get sad about it. I also need limestone to insulate some of these buildings more.
How are you?
Can I help you with something? Do you have a spare bottle of cherry wine? I'm desperate need for cherry wine. Does it have to be cherry wine? If you want to talk about your drinking problems, not even drunkards have their preferences. Let's see, everyone is from time to time. The problem is I drank the wine, and now this idiot can't try it and admit I'm right. Let's see. Oh, right about what? The cherry wine is better than plum wine. Oh, I see. And how can I prove it if there's no cherry wine left? Alright, I'll help you.
So long.
Cool. I am wasting my time getting cherry wine to settle an argument about what wine is better. This is a great use of my time. Okay, so we can go ahead and get over here. It's very important. I see this. Who am I to judge? I am really debating what I'm playing tomorrow. That is the thing I'm waffling. Like I said, I'm enjoying the Hollywood Animal. I think I'm gonna wait till at least a couple of updates come out before I get back into it. Just for some of the quality of life stuff and all that. Okay, we've got random logs strewn across the middle of the road. Good to know, good to know. Very important. I would have loved if instead of mead bottles and mead, it was the cherry wine. This is also good, though. Some salted fish. I mean, still. Last time you had wine, you got sick from it? Oh man, getting sick on wine is not a good time. That's, Toom and I mentioned for like a belated birthday party, we went out to eat. Like we went out to like a place you could eat and have a show and all that. But we also found a place where you could get mead nearby. So while we were waiting for a reservation, not that it was like anything super fancy, but you know, make sure they've got availability. So while we were waiting, there was a place you could get mead nearby, and they had a lot of good meads, but they had some very sweet meads, and it's like, yeah, don't drink till you get sick on some sweet. It is a bad time. All right, so feathers are easy. You just want meat and carrots. I can probably do that. And you want buckets, which we could probably do. None of those should be a big difficulty. All right. So let's run back home and let's get the that other storage place built. Yeah, I know getting sick on some sweet is a real bad time. This isn't me being like judgy of sweet drinks or anything like that. That's oh, I think we might have a hostile place right by where we live. That's not my favorite. Is that like a bandit base or raider base where you're like, man, like literally up against there? Yeah, no, that is a bad time. Let's not get them because I don't have my bow. I need to replace it right now. But yeah, no, it's those things like getting sick on sweet stuff is always bad. Oh right, I grabbed all those mead bottles and mead and all that. We could deal with that later. Let's go ahead and change our listed quest. Oh, you know what I ought to do? We're not going back. I am going to go towards the storage we started building on the other side there, because that would give me access to the feathers and everything nearby. And so we can just run them in and out of town. Anything we want to sell and all that, we can do that. And we get that sorted out. Basically, just giving ourselves an easy location to get a bunch of lumber and to get to and from town. Oh yeah, and I wasn't trying to imply that the wine was mead. It was more just getting sick on sweet stuff is a real bad time sick. But oh, what I was saying is like not bad-mouthing sweet drinks. I usually tend to not prefer sweet, but there's definitely something when you're going to like a beach or you're going to like on a cruise or any type of like tropical anything. Getting your fruity frou-frou drink is just the right choice. A frozen fruity frou-frou drink, get me on board. I want it. Yes, please and thank you. Make it happen, Captain. Can we get a paper umbrella in there while we're at it? Can you make more than one settlement or put buildings outside your town on our part map? Yes. Which is actually literally what I'm doing right now. So basically, I'm making a storage area here because it's really close to town. We're like right here. And then on top of that, it's right here in a forest detached from where I live. So when I need just a bunch of wood for any reason, it's kind of one of those things that I can just go over here, knock down a ton of trees, and have a bunch of lumber here, and it doesn't make where my main base look terrible. So I'm effectively making, like, a tree farm location. It's no reason I'm not going to take any time to, like, clear any of the stumps or anything around us or make any other additions. My plan, though, is to keep, as far as the actual settlement goes, just having the one location as my actual, like, settlement. They're supposed to be linked to the entire map, which is not how it used to work, but I think it was the same time they gave us the ability to pull from storage when we're doing, like, construction and everything nearby a storage place. I think they linked it all at the same time. So just like a huge quality of life. Just with the weird fact that we can kind of quote-unquote teleport our goods around the map. There's a little bit of cheese you can do there. I'm mostly doing it so I don't have to run around constantly. I'm not looking to try and transport thousands of weights of good across the entire map. Alright. I'm basically just trying to get through these as fast as we can. It's just the unfortunate thing that the storage building does take a pretty thing. Who cares about cheese? You can be convenient. I mean, considering you can literally just be like, I have unlimited carry weight now. And just use your inventory as your limitless carry weight, if you so chose. We're not doing that, but like... It's one of those things that I can imagine at a certain point, you're like, oh, I want to move all of this stuff from this location to this location. Like, I just don't want to sit here and deal with it kind of thing. Yeah, I don't mind, like, for example, when I play Space Engineers, which has been a hot minute, but when I would play Space Engineers, I would quite often choose realistic carry weight and all that. A lot of times I would end up turning up the speed that oh, what would I turn up the speed? Not the smelting speed. There's something I'd turn up just a little bit. Because you get into that weird thing where you filled it up with all the goods you can carry, and then you'd just be like, well, what can I do now? Sit on my hands and wait. Maybe the production speed? I don't remember. You stop bouncing, please? One of the big shames is that we can't pull it from storage thing. Lifelong back sleep? I mean, that's good. You wanted to get sleep, as I recall. So it is good to find the sleep. The amount of logs. You're finally awake. Yup. Yeah, building your first storage building in this game is quite the undertaking, because unless you get lucky and you come across like a bronze or an iron axe just on the side of the road, which does happen if you're exploring, but if you don't find that, you gotta do this all with stone axes, and you end up going through multiple stone axes, like a good number of stone axes building this, because you can see how many trees I'm having to cut down just to build the one building. That's just because the storage building is particularly greedy on... I almost dropped that tree on myself. You don't know why watching you kill an entire forest is cozy? There's just something about it. We've talked about a number of times that you'll have people play, like content creators playing all these different games that, you know, like The Forest. They'll spend time fighting all the enemies and exploring the map and learning the lore and crafting up all sorts of stuff. And then if you actually look at what has the big player retention for The Forest, it's just people in the forest cutting down the trees to build their little base. It's not even the building part that seems to be the main draw. It's literally just hacking down all the trees and plunking them down. Like, what it's making doesn't matter. It's a conversation I've had with a couple of content creators who friends the channel a number of times who play games like The Forest. That they're like, yep, went and did a thing where I was going through the story, no one cared. Went and did this thing where I was building this cool elaborate base, no one cared. Went cutting up trees, everyone was there. It's just a thing. It's one of those times the content you expect to do good on the channel. Wait, oh right, it's a resource 2 building I made. That's why it's got all the higher requirements. It's like, man, this building is greedy. Right, I'm building the upgraded version, not the lower level version. That said, chat, it is getting to be about that time. So I'm getting a little on the tired side, so I was saying it might go a little bit long. I'm gonna choose not to do that and instead end up my normal time. Which is fine. So as far as things I'm playing tomorrow, we could do Medieval Dynasty, we could check out Sengoku Dynasty, or I might do something completely different. I haven't committed to what it is yet, but we'll get that all figured out. Part of me does want to play the new season, new DLC for SnowRunner, but I've been warned it's possibly the hardest DLC they've ever had. And that means I really need the equipment from earlier in the game, which I don't have, which means I'm just setting myself up for failure on that one. So realistically, if I did SnowRunner, I wouldn't be doing the new DLC, I'd be doing the old stuff to prepare for the new DLC and probably not getting to it. But regardless, we'll figure it out when we get there. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed tonight's content and you're not already following the channel, don't forget to drop your follow, that way you can get back here in the future. If you're over on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, but the stream will be ending abruptly for you because I don't have a host ready for you over on YouTube. For those over here on Twitch, don't go anywhere because I'm going to go ahead and put up my ending stream screen and find